Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today we are discussing a much-loved 2022 model year limited edition of 100 pieces in titanium. This is the Moser Cie Pioneer Center Second Rotating Bezel Goffberg limited edition, and in many ways this is what the Pioneer should have been when it debuted back in the mid-2010s. The watch is 40 in diameter, 11.5 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 47.7 millimeters, and 20 millimeters is the spacing between the lugs. Now this watch wears a lot better on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist than the original 42.8 millimeter Pioneer did. I'm even going to zoom out a little bit so you can see this watch to scale against my arm. It's a wonderful fit, and it's a really thin watch. Feather light, all in titanium and sapphire. Take a look at those lugs. In this down the barrel shot, they're nowhere near the edge of my wrist, and even over the top, which always exaggerates the width of the watch, you can see the lugs are not out over the edge. This is a watch suitable for a wrist as small as 14, maybe even 13.5 centimeters circumference. Definitely the only Moser Pioneer that might work on a lady's wrist, and I prefer this size. There's a reason why so many Rolex watches for years have revolved around 40 millimeter cases. The bracelet is not a universal feature of Pioneer watches, and it's made all the more special because not only does this have the bracelet, but it's in titanium to match the case. You can see in profile every single link is removable to permit precise sizing, but then we also have a little system where you push the logo on the buckle, and then we have a lock and a rack, and that allows incremental adjustment through about 1 centimeter of incrementally adjustable range. Taking a look at the profile, you can see there's recess and coining on the flank of the clasp. You will find recesses and coining on the flank of the case as well. We have a thick gauge titanium single fold clasp, and it is a twin trigger release, so you have to press both triggers to pop it open. It can't open via inertia or accident. The case is relatively simple. You can see in profile everything: lug hoods, profile, bezel, media blasted finish, and we have some character lines on the bezel hoods. We do have these recesses. Moser cases are made by machining and then hand finishing, and that's how they get these detailed recesses in lug profiles on Moser watches. They don't use the same recess design on every watch, but every watch does have a recessed lug profile. We have a media blasted screw down crown with micro knurling that's easy to grip. The watch is 120 meters water resistant. We have a super chunky 60 click bezel with a loud report. It's a meaty machine. Line up the bezel index with the minute hand, and now you've got a 0 to 60 minute count up timer. And because of ceramic loom inlays within the titanium bezel insert, the entire bezel has been loomed. So all of the loom is what's known as globalite. It is a ceramic-based luminescent material, and you can see on the dial that the indices themselves are actually solid blocks of loom that have been placed or applied on the dial. So these are applique indices. Even though at first glance they might appear printed, they're very much three-dimensional. The knurling on the bezel is sharp and easy to grip, and you don't see too many titanium bezel inserts. The dial features Moser's signature funky blue and their signature fume smoked fade. Light at the center to dark at the edges. It has a metallic sunburst pattern. No date dial for clean, easy reading and aesthetic balance. An Orejo outboard that unifies the bezel and the dial base. Also minimally branded Moser. They make them in Schaffhausen, which is German Switzerland, but they do not put Swiss made on the dial because Swiss made means 60% Swiss parts or value. Moser says all of their watches are 90 to 95, and thus they don't use the lower standard. They are beyond the bare minimum for Swiss made. They will leave Swiss made statements to companies that have more to prove and less with which to prove it. Now on the reverse side, quirky thing about this 100-piece edition, some of them have rose gold rotors and some of them have tungsten rotors, and it seems like only a handful went out the door with the tungsten rotors. So if you want the rare one, this is it. It has the HMC 200 movement, a manufacturer caliber built by Moser. Moser even has a company called Precision Engineering within its manufacture that makes all of the challenging parts of the movement, like the balance, the hairspring, and the escapement. So they make those parts in-house. Ceramic rotor bearings for high efficiency. We have a magic lever style bidirectional pawl-based winding system, a 72-hour power reserve, a 3 hertz beat rate. We have a sports watch style architecture. This movement has a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance. It's also a relatively meaty movement that's 5.5 millimeters thick, which I like. I don't want a sports watch movement to be too thin. That can invite fragility. This doesn't have that problem. All of this pivoting on 27 joules, and again, a 3-day power reserve with stop seconds for setting it precisely. Moser making only about 3,000, maybe 3,500 watches a year at this point. So compared to a company like Richard Mille with their 5,500, or Audemars Piguet with their 60,000, this is quite a bit more exclusive. And you can see some elements of finish that are characteristic of Moser, like the triple finished rotor with media blast, snailing, and beveling on the edge. We have a machined but handsome bevel on the edge of the bridges, double crested Côte de Genève, which are distinctive of Moser, polishing in the jewel sinks, satination on the wheels and the crown wheel core, black polished screw heads, and engine turning on the base plate. It is all quite attractive. And a 100-piece limited edition. When we get these, they go fast. Possibly the best Moser sports watch. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.